Good morning, Lilia from Heal Scotland here. And with me today, all the way from Cairngorm National Park, I have this incredible duo, Lynn and Sandra, who have created Lynbrek Croft, one of my most favourite places in the world right now. Girls, how you doing?
Very well, thanks, Lilia, and thank you so much for having us today. Yeah. We're very excited about being part of this whole journey, the Heal Scotland and Goddess Gathering journey. So thank you very much.
Yes, I'm so excited that you guys are coming to the Goddess Gathering, because I think, once people meet you and actually realise the enormity of what you've done, I know you're a very humble pair, but in a very short space of time, I think, is it like 7 years? Is it 7 years since you moved in?
It's just coming on 8. Yeah.
8, yeah. Yeah. What you've done in that very short space of time, as we know when we're talking about the land and the trees, etc. And I always tell people the story still about when Claire and I kind of turned round onto the meadow last summer, and the two of us were just like that with tears in our eyes at the. Claire nearly had and she nearly left her body with excitement to the test that was just like right there. And obviously meeting all your animals, and still, how many trees you planted, that still blows me away that you did that in 4 weeks. Tell them how many trees you planted in a month.
We planted 17,400 trees in a month, and yes, it nearly did kill us. Well, nearly killed me anyway. But no, it was part of our kind of initial vision when we moved to Lynbrek, because obviously our background, Lilia, but none of this was ever meant to happen, right? It was never part of the plan. The plan was a kind of a wee corner of Scotland, maybe 5 acres, grow some veggies, have some chickens, maybe, a couple of months a year, we'll carve a little area out where we'll do a little bit of camping, make the money that we need, end of story. But life was not on that trajectory for us. Somebody else had a much bigger vision. So we ended up at Lynbrek, 150 acres, kind of catapulted to some extent unknowingly, unwillingly, but now very much embrace it into kind of a farming and crofting lifestyle. And the reason why we embarked on that first tree planting adventure was we kind of looked up onto our hillside, and we just moved from the borders. We'd spent 2 years, pretty much working as tree planters, and we looked up on the hillside, and there really wasn't much happening up there. There wasn't a lot of diversity, probably due to many years of kind of overgrazing of kind of herbivores. And so we saw it, as this kind of opportunity to get out there and make a difference. So we kind of applied for some money from Scottish Forestry, and they approved it. And so we went up and planted this, what is now this maturing into this beautiful broadleaf and Scots pine woodland. So and that was just the beginning of it. That was only us just getting warmed up.
Well, I wouldn't be able to do that anymore now.
No, we wouldn't be able to do it anymore now. No, we're old ladies now.
Well, there's the physicality of, and obviously the time frame that you had to do that within. I mean, that's a lot of work, and I know that you guys are pretty exhausted by the end of these days. But I think the thing that really inspired me, apart from obviously all the physical stuff that you've done, is really the ingenuity of how you managed to take a farm that really nobody was buying, because in the traditional sense, it's not really farmable land, although it's spectacularly beautiful. I mean, it's quite hauntingly beautiful, I think. But, let's face it, bills have to get paid, and if you're a traditional farmer, that's why it was eventually you got the message that you were to buy it after a couple of visits, wasn't it? And then it wasn't really, as you say, you had a much smaller project in mind, and then you took on this enormous project, but then real lateral thinking you managed. And I know it's changed and moved as it will continue to do, over the last nearly 8 years. Can you just talk a little bit about the micro butchery? Because I just thought that was, and the meat club that you had. I don't think you're still running that, but it was genius thinking.
Yeah, it's something I can't actually really remember how it came about, but I suppose what we were conscious of was 2 things. One was the whole business side, and obviously if you're producing food, it's not exactly something that will ever make you a millionaire. And especially in the current climate with meat prices and things like that. And we don't carry many animals. We only carry as many animals as benefit our land. You know, if we could easily carry more, but we know long term it wouldn't be good for our land. So we only carry a few, and that was never going to really pay the bills. So from a business point of view, we knew we were going to have to add value to that meat, and the only way to do that really is to turn it into something more than just cuts, you know, artisan produce. And also we were very aware of obviously wanting to give our animals, you know, the best life possible, where they can really, you know, live a life that is right for them, where they can exhibit all their natural behaviors, which is actually benefits us and the land as well if they can do that. But also taking it further is then when they do have that one bad day, is afterwards we want to be able to do right by them too. We want to, you know, take the food that they're providing us with and then turn it into something special that we can then sell it on to our local community. So the only way we were going to be able to do that was to install a micro butchery, tiny butchery, learn how to do all that ourselves, and then embark on that adventure, which we did. And it's been, I think it's probably given us a few grey hairs, say it that way, going down that route. But it's been absolutely brilliant. So we now do all the kind of the basic butchery in there, and then we take things like, you know, bacon cuts, and we make smoked bacon, and we make artisan sausages and burgers, and we try out all sorts of crazy recipes. You can be really creative in there, using, you know, I'd like to use more foraged ingredients as well, locally grown ingredients, and then create something really special, and it tells the story of our animals too. So we don't do a monthly sort of delivery service anymore, but we do seasonal releases of meat boxes and speciality boxes, and it works really well and people love it.
I know. Well, even when I was up and stayed with you guys last summer and we had the barbecue, and it was just like, there's something so innately special about knowing. I mean, obviously all the veggies were just off the land, and that the meat is, you know, clean, being loved, and the way it used to be, you know, where we had a real respect for nature and all the beings. So, you know, that's why I just absolutely love coming to you guys. Now, what you're doing now, I hear you've just got a new polytunnel as well.
Yeah, it was another moment of craziness. Again, I don't know how that happened.
Her fault. I just wanted an outdoor seating area, but no.
Well, I said, look, we can build a polytunnel for your seating area. You can have 2 meters of 10 meters of growing space. We're in.
How did that work?
So that's going to be for this year. A new venture is growing vegetables to sell. So not, you know, veg boxes as such, but things like tomatoes, melons, cucumbers, things that we know grow well in our first polytunnel. But again, it's trying to get that nutrient dense, organically grown, clean veg into our local community. That's a real passion. So if you look after one polytunnel, you may as well look after a second one too.
It's the kind of justification.
I'll quote you on that at the end of the summer.
I will too. I'm going to quote her on that too.
Because obviously, having lived up in Barmoloch, I see. I mean, a lot of our beds up there are outside. I understand the level of commitment and really people being there. You know, in terms of to get the best out of food and to make sure your soil's got all the things in it needs, but also the midges. That's the thing. The midges in the rain in Argyll, you know, it's like you don't always want to be out in the garden.
No. No, and I think that's, you have it at another level. You know, we get, you know, our actually, I would say, you know, in some respects, on the whole, our challenge with the summer is dryness. Certainly early spring, you know, we can go through really dry spells, and you know, so actually that's one of our challenges. But yeah, we're not immune to the Highland midge either. They do fly over this way, so that's why we wanted an indoor seating area.
Yeah, absolutely, because we want to be outside, but we also don't want to be eaten alive. You know, it's and that's why I really love this time of year today. It's absolutely beautiful here, where you can be outside, and it's, you know, yeah, you've got to wrap up, but it's just, it's almost like after sort of December and January, the body's craving that link. You feel like a wee plant, just like, whoa.
Yes,
Another thing
absolutely.
that you
100%.
guys are doing now, which I think is, in terms of the Heal Scotland mission, is teaching people how to, who are like basically starting off where you were 8 years ago, looking for a bit of land, and there's lots of people looking, because a lot of people are really like pinging awake now, going, I don't want to be eating that poison. I don't want to be giving my kids that poison. How can we create our own food? How can we live off the land? Get away from all the crazy taxes and burdens that our ludicrous government have put on us. And what you guys have done is created a course that you would have loved to have been available when you first started, which I think is pretty genius. And I would say that's probably one of the bigger picture reasons why you guys are there, is to really help educate people now that are coming in and that are thinking about it. So tell me about the course. Tell everybody about the course.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think it's all, as we now have kind of accepted it, it's all been part of the reason as to why we're here. It's kind of answering that call. And whenever we were looking to do this, which we didn't really know what that was at the time, there wasn't really any kind of particular training available that was just a one-stop shop. And even the stuff that was available wasn't really giving us the detail that we needed. One of the things that when people come on the course, the feedback that they give us is, my God, you were so honest. We share not only just, honest emotions, honest challenges, but things like honest finances, because if people don't know the realities of the cost of producing food versus the selling prices, it's never going to fly at the end of the day, even though it's maybe not your core motivation. You're not here to make your millions, but it's a factor, right? It's another, as we like to talk about it, it's just another simple energy input and output of the system as a whole, which we have to accept as just part of it. So we bring people here for 4.5 days. It's basically kind of all encompassing. They camp on site. We kind of share everything about, everything from about like kind of setting your kind of values and your purpose in life. Why are you here? Why do you want to do this? If you haven't set that, North Star, if you haven't identified it, that's a problem. But we then go on to things like how to grow your own food, how to work with cows, how to work with pigs, how to work with chickens, how to set up a business, how to do marketing and sales, and utilize social media and bring people onto the land to help generate income, but also share that story. So really by the end of the 4.5 days, everybody's knackered. We're all absolutely knackered. But we're on this really major high. And what we see, when people come to Lynbrek is that, we see a number of things. One, it's the kind of like what you were describing, this kind of, oh my God, it is so beautiful. Even in the rain, it is so beautiful. It's stunning. The landscape is breathtaking. But I think what we notice is that people go away feeling empowered, whether they're here for a morning or a day or a week. And yeah, okay, part of that might be, Sandra and I's impact, but we really believe that what it is that people come here and they directly connect with the land. They're walking on it, they're breathing it, they're sleeping it, they're eating it. And it's just a real week or day or morning of just grounding. And I think that's why, people go away feeling kind of so energized, even though they might need to sleep for about 3 days, So we realized that was part of our kind of calling here to do that. And in addition to that, we run, tours. So we do sort of monthly public tours. We do tours for tour companies. And it's really cool because we get people here who know nothing about farming. Quite often, they have no idea about farming. They have no idea about our food, where it's produced, take them into the kitchen garden, talk about, how we grow our food in this. I mean, you've seen it, it's this intensely productive, tiny area, really on land, as you kind of yourself described as nothing should grow here, nothing should be able to live here. But if you work with nature, which isn't kind of bucolic and idealistic, it's just fact, if you work with natural processes, there's nothing more abundant. And so it's really helped. Like, I think what we try to facilitate is just plugging people into that.
Yeah, and I think that is the thing that was very obvious during the summer, and it's the same in Barmolloch, and particularly when Claire's there, because she walks like literally just a few meters, and then she's described about 20 medicines to you. And you're like, how could we have been walking past all of this? You know, in the Canal Bank here, where where we were brought up, I'm like, my God, this medicine's been here for 60 years, and I knew nada about it. It's crazy. And because what you guys are doing in terms of, you move your animals around, so you've got the surface of the soil has been, not ploughd's not the right word, but it's been disturbed, let's say, and then obviously the manure from the animals. I mean, all of that is actually the way it's meant to be. And even your ones, I obviously didn't see it before you planted all these trees, but now it's starting to look, you've got the areas of shade, and you're like, why are we interfering in such a level of intelligence that is beyond our wildest dreams?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, someone said, nature and a natural environment, it's not complicated, it's complex. It's humans make things complicated. So, I mean, that's one of the lessons we've learned, is to try and plug into that and recognize the complexity, but not overcomplicate things, keep things simple. And so, like you said, you walk through your garden or your local sort of neighborhood, and before you know it, you've passed loads of medicinal plants or things that you can eat. That's simplicity, because it's right there around you. It's our environment does look after us. It takes care of us. It nourishes us. But humans have made things awfully complicated for no particular reason. So I think it's just stepping back and seeing the bigger picture again.
Well, yeah, and I did a live the other night about a Scottish healing centre, potential of a pop-up healing centre in Skye and during the winter. And I was saying, what do people need? And and I don't want a whole list of protocols because we know all about protocols, and we know but what do people who are feeling disconnected mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, what could we create that is going to help? And like coming onto your land, we're always looking for such complicated answers. And I know anybody that come and spend half a day with you guys and being so inspirational. Like, you guys have been doing it for nearly 8 years. You maybe actually forget how incredibly inspirational it is what you've created, and what all that you've learned, and now you can pass that on to somebody, because this is what we need to be doing, isn't it? Sharing the information. And I'm sure you go places and you think, oh, why did we not think of that? And then you're providing all this, and marketing and social media, and how much it costs to feed the animals, all these things that you need to know if you're going to create something, because literally you're going against the tide. Our system's not set up for what you guys are doing. You have to be like much, much more creative than you were just setting up a run-of-the-mill business that everybody understands. And that's what's so inspirational, I think, and it speaks to so many of us at a heart level, because you're just like, oh my God, somebody's actually doing this, and now we need to replicate this. Somebody's asking about the course, kind of more details. Yeah, we'll put all the links in, and people can come to Inverness and meet these guys, because let me assure you, they're a unique pair, and so inspirational. And the fact that not just the land, the soil, the animals, the Highland cows, the pigs, the chickens, everything. It's just everything's really taken care of. The tree hay, I didn't even know that was a thing until I was at your place, And now you're going to be growing, and I mean, what you're giving to that community, in Cairngorm, which is now you're going to be able to come and get real, not just real meat, but a lot of people talk to me and think that, they think I'm a vegan for a start, and they think that the vegan diet is the healthiest, and we know it's not. I'm not saying that vegetables and going on to a vegan diet for a few months can kickstart your healing. I absolutely know that. Veggie power, I'm all the way for that. Meat, organic dairy, it's the big problem with so much of our food is the process and the poison, and it's not the way we were given it by nature, by the divine, by God, whoever you want to call it out. I think what you're putting into the community, and it's crazy, because, and I think this will change, I definitely think this will change, that gold, if you're hungry, gold's rubbish. No, it's no use. But organic, biodynamic, delicious food grown season with the seasons and with the genius of these, what do you call that? polytunnel you've got, because it's a hardy bugger, isn't it?
Badass.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not going to blow away in a gale. You know, what's it made of?
So it's called a poly crib, and it was designed on Shetland. So I mean, anything that survives up in Shetland will survive here as well. But they're covered with polycarbonate sheets, so it's hard plastic, UV treated, so it's going to last forever. It won't rip, it won't break. So yeah, it's a genius design, and when it's gale force storms outside, we don't worry about the polycribs. We worry more about the cabin that we're in at the minute than we do about the polytunnels outside. But it just means that we can grow so much more. We can extend growing seasons. We can grow things that wouldn't thrive in this climate, like melons. I mean, who would have thought you could grow melons in the Highlands?
I was surprised to hear you say that. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, that's our little. I think.
Is that because the amount of light?
Yeah, the amount of light and just the more consistent heat. They're tropical, almost tropical plants, so they just need a lot of heat, and the polytunnel just concentrates that in there. If you get good soil going, it's just incredible what you can grow. It's like a jungle, It's just
absolutely. That's literally what it is, and I think that's we want to be using our expertise and our skill and our ability to take what we can absolutely circumvent with these kind of materials, and obviously in order to be able to grow and feed ourselves especially during the months where there really isn't much on offer. So listen, tell us, you're coming to talk at the Goddess Gathering, because obviously we could stay on here all day.
We were.
We will. I mean, I really hope to come and see you somewhere around about the Goddess Gathering as well, and definitely when Claire's coming up next, to get some time with you again and to really see what's changed in a year. But let's talk about the Goddess Gathering, because this is a real integral part of us getting back into alignment and into the symbiotic nature, the diversity in the gut coming into the symbiotic relationship with the external environment, and how one feeds the other, and how natural light has an impact on us, and how the body is part of this magnificent field, and what you guys are doing, if people are called to copy what you're doing and to learn from you. So tell us about what we're going to be doing at the Goddess Gathering.
Yeah, so we're quite we're so looking forward to it. So thank you so much for inviting us. It's a real kind of privilege and an honor to be a part of this event, and I think we're just actually really excited just to get to go ourselves. So thank you so much for that, Lilia. We so appreciate everything that you do and inviting us. So yeah, we sat down a couple of nights ago and started to sort of brainstorm what our little session would look like. And because often we'll get asked to do talks or presentations, and we thought we don't really want it to be just another kind of and here's what we do at Lynbrek, blah blah blah. So what we wanted to do was make it super practical. So I think so far we've got like 9 points of things that people can take away as we share our learning, that they can kind of go away with and then improve their food choices or their well-being. So we've got some really nice kind of, which we're going to flesh out a little bit more, but some really nice kind of super practical points that we've made from our learning. And one of the things that we're really going to tie a lot of things into, which again, this was never part of the plan, it was never really on the radar to begin with, but very much has been now, is well-being. I mean, I think a lot of our work is so synergistic to what you do in Heal Scotland. I feel like we're constantly banging on about the same things, yet you're a charity and we're a small little croft. We could easily be sort of saying the same things. And so one of the things that we've been talking about a lot lately is the importance of resilience, and you've kind of been alluding to that. Like, you can't eat gold, but you can eat organic gold, organically grown gold. And so really kind of weaving that resilience and kind of helping empower people to build that resilience into their lives, but also the power of rest. You know, we talk a lot about, you know, a super productive field is one that's been rested well. You know, animals that are well cared for, that are well looked after, you know, that are well rested, are happy and healthy. And one of the things that we've been really learning about recently is rest for us as well. And that applies, I think, to all of us, irrespective of any field that we work in. Yet we're always the last on the list, aren't we? We're always at the very bottom of the list because there's so many other things to do. So this winter, we had a really nice rest period earlier on. And honestly, it's been the most productive winter, yet we had the most downtime. And so it's really starting to kind of, and so we're sharing that story too, because we're starting to say, you know, people always say this, but it is actually true. You know, we've kind of lived it now. And the more we think about it, the more you can see how that really actually fits into the core of what regenerative or sustainable living is all about. You know, you've got to be able to work in those rest periods. You've got to be able to, you know, have times when you know, like you did when you went skiing, you walk away from Heel Scotland to go snowboarding for a week. Sometimes it's hard because you love what you do, but you come back and you're like, yeah. And, you know, we started to have to learn to do that more too, which is challenging. But it's really nice. So like this morning, for example, we went for a swim in Lochgarten, and then we went to our local cafe and had a coffee and some granola. And it was just like a little rest period, but it was so nice. It was so much fun. So we're working in more rest now. It's kind of, which is the, you know, what you think is the opposite of the doing. It's actually enabling more of it. So that's another little story to share.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, when just traditionally, and particularly for you guys, and it's the same when you're at the farm, there's always something you could be doing. So you have to actively go, well, does it need to be done today? No. So therefore I can, you know, tend myself. And it's the same if you go to the gym, you train, you know, you train your muscles and then you rest. That's when the magic happens during the rest period. And that's when you get creative as well, isn't it? When you're busy, you're not... actually you're running around looking for your keys, forgetting this, forgetting that, you know, you're just not as productive. And we all know that, but it's an actual skill to pull back and go, do you know what? And I think I was forced, you know, over the last few months, because I was like, no, I need to look after myself here, because for a start, if I'm not enjoying it, I'm absolutely not going to be doing it. So I cannot be, you can share your vulnerability, share the humanness of what life throws at you. Of course, we all will go through that. But at the same time, the only person that's really going to understand when I need to rest is me. So I need to be absolutely on top of that, because if I'm not walking my walk, then, as my pal used to say, she rattles when she walks. You can hear somebody who's not walking their walk.
Rattles when she walks.
Rattles when she walks. I love that, because it just, you know, you don't, it's a saying I hadn't heard before, but you just know what it means when you hear it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, you know, when everybody's coming online and saying they've got the magic solution to life and all that stuff, it's just like, life can be hard sometimes. And I think, you know, you've been brutally honest is really, we have to be transparent. Any healing journey, you know, is being honest. Like you guys, really interesting that's key feedback that you get, the honesty. You don't create what you've created without you know, some blood and tears. That's just the way it is, especially when it's completely new and unknown, not just to you, but to basically in our culture. You're doing things in a completely different way. And that's going to, you know, and you're kind of always looking, well, we could do that, you know, because it's always like, could you cut corners, make more money? You know, and it's just like, well, no, it's that integrity. And, you know, and being willing to really stand with that. I think that's what we've kind of lost in our culture. So, well, I am delighted that you guys are going to be there, and delighted that you're shining a light, you know, for, you know, not everybody's going to buy 130 acres and take out and plant best part 18,000 trees. But, you know, there's so many things that they can learn and gain from your experience, even just in your own garden, even if you're not buying land. So, I'm excited to have you there to share your story, and so that other people can also get to meet you. Also, I know Claire's coming up for a couple of days in the summer, so I want to promote that for the people in the area. I've already sent it to a few of my friends that I know would be interested in, you know, a day with you guys and Claire. I mean, come on. That's got to be. doesn't get any better than that. And then I get to come in and hang out and tag along and take photos. It's just like my idea of heaven.
We quite like it too.
These dates are on your website, aren't they?
They are.
Wild Medicine Days. Wild Medicine Days. So so if anybody come to the Goddess Gathering, which is 2nd and 3rd of March in Inverness, you'll meet these guys. They've got days. Is it July? I think it is that Claire's coming up.
Last weekend in July.
I think it is the end of July.
Wild Medicine there. You can get onto Lynbrek Croft and see and experience this magnificent bit of land that these guys have been loving and tending, and the animals that are on it. It's really highly recommended. It's very special. So yeah, I think that's really everything that we need to chat about today. So thank you so much for your time. I'm glad that you were in the loch. Get some loch, get your cells batteries charged.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all washed down with a nice bit of granola and toast.
Happy days. Yeah, I'm talking about that. I'm going to have to. I did a lot of fasting over January, and then 3-day fast, and it's actually amazing because I'm like that. Oh, I'm hungry. I can feel the sensation that would tell me eat, and then I'm like not eating, and you're like, oh right, no, you can eat now. You're not fasting.
It's the best way.
It's been a really interesting one. So yeah, all these things that we can do to help ourselves. Brilliant.
Yeah.
So listen, I'm so looking forward to seeing you, and I'll be in touch before I come up anyway. And thanks a million.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And thanks for everything that you do, Lillian.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right. Bye. Bye.